Chapter 506, Illness. Amidst the nighttime cacophony of the town's barking dogs, Lumion let out a low chuckle. "Do you have that many dogs in Dartle?" "Why, yes," the middle-aged man managed a hesitant smile. "Something is off as expected. Has something happened to this town?" Lumion had intentionally inquired, keen on observing the reactions of the resident across from him. Amidst the persisting dog chorus, he concentrated on gauging the other party's luck. He had no plans to leave the steam locomotive and venture into Dartle for investigation. His only recourse was to probe into the luck of the town's residents, anticipating hidden problems before they could unexpectedly spread to the train station. While Termaburros could influence his luck observation, there was always a chance of being misled. Lumion, lacking expertise in divination or prophecy, had limited options for gathering information without leaving the steam locomotive. Factoring in various environmental details, he aimed to discern potential issues. In Lumion's view, the middle-aged man's luck took on a ghastly green hue. This indicated an impending illness, a rather peculiar one. The specifics, such as when or what kind of illness, eluded Lumion's current sequence. Dog barking inducing fear, future special illness. Do Dartle's wild dogs cause calamities by biting and spreading diseases? That's a plausible explanation, and it's not a beyonder incident, but that means there's a potential solution. The man outside seems to be grappling with a hint of despair. Lumion turned to the middle-aged man who was soliciting customers and said, "Can you bring over the food we ordered?" "We can do so if the meal cost exceeds 2 Vril d'or. You know, it's not easy for us to enter the platform," the middle-aged man, now smiling again, replied. At that moment, the clamor of dozens of dogs subsided, no longer as intense as before. "No problem," Lumion casually ordered a variety of dishes: apple liqueur, deep-fried potato pancakes, shrimp in gravy, Dartle meat sauce, stewed pork, salt marsh mutton, buttered pancakes, and wick cheese. The total cost amounted to 10 Vril d'or. Ludwig couldn't help but gulp with each mention of a dish. 4 hours prior, an attendant had delivered a 4-person standard dinner. Despite managing to finish 2 portions alone, Ludwig remained unsatisfied. He had also retrieved multiple pieces of jerky from Lumion's traveler's bag. 2 hours ago, he had his first supper, consisting of cheese, dessert, bread, jerky, and more. Now he was hungry again. The middle-aged man, who had used simple words and symbols to record the dish names, couldn't resist asking, "Is the food provided in a carriage of this level not tasty?" Otherwise, why would Ludwig look as though he hadn't eaten dinner? Lumion responded in turn, "That's right. Don't ever expect to eat tasty food on a steam locomotive." After noting down the dish names and receiving 5 Vril d'or banknotes as a down payment, the middle-aged man with a slightly hooked chin moved to another private room. "Wait," Lumion suddenly called out. "Is there anything else, monsieur?" The middle-aged man turned around and inquired. Lumion smiled and said, "You don't look well. If you don't want to get sick, you need more rest in the next few days." The middle-aged man froze, his expression struck by lightning. After a momentary pause, panic and fear mixed on his face. All right, thank you." He turned around in a hurry and dashed out of the platform, forgetting to solicit other customers. Dartle's abnormality is indeed linked to illnesses, Lumion mused as he withdrew his gaze thoughtfully. Lugano asked with curiosity, "Why can't I tell that he's sub-healthy and could fall ill at any moment?" Being a doctor, he possessed corresponding abilities. Even without activating his spirit vision, he could discern various external manifestations of a person's body. Recognizing a concealed illness, and with Lumion's warning, he activated his spirit vision to observe the person's ether body. Sub-healthy was a term coined by Emperor Roselle, but it had only gained popularity in Inti's medical world in recent years. He's not currently in a sub-healthy state, but it's very likely that he will contract a special illness. Lumion used Lugano's questions to confirm that the townsfolk's illness didn't originate from him. He smiled and responded to Lugano's question. It's never wrong to care about others' health and encourage them to rest more. Instinctively, Lugano revealed an expression that said, "I don't buy it." Then he masked it with a smile. He seems to share that concern. That's right, Lumion replied patronizingly. Dartle's barking subsided and resounded at times. Sometimes it was just outside the platform, and at other times it came from the edge of the town. Lumion listened quietly and sighed inwardly. Why am I encountering something like this again? Do I bring calamity, or does calamity lure me here? From the looks of it, the problem in Dartle has been around for a while. It has nothing to do with my arrival. No matter how I avoid it or make choices via the use of others, I'll always be drawn to calamities and unknowingly approach them. Is this why a hunter with an angelic level and the Blood Emperor's remnant aura will inevitably encounter an abnormal situation despite their low sequence? In the future, will a novelist write about my experiences like Jam and Sparrows? Then, the line, "He's always accompanied by calamity," would be included. As time ticked by, the middle-aged man who had been soliciting customers arrived with a bar waiter, each carrying a food container. Is this what you want? He and the waiter handed plates and glasses through the window. Seeing the table covered in an exquisite tablecloth filled with tempting food, Lumion took a sip of the slightly sour apple liqueur and paid the remaining 5 Verl d'Or for the meal. We'll collect the cutlery in an hour. We won't be disturbing you, will we? The middle-aged man asked politely. Lumion nodded, giving them permission. After sidestepping with the waiter for a moment, the middle-aged man found himself returning to his original position. He couldn't resist the urge to inquire. Monsieur, how do you know I'm about to fall ill? Lumion, gesturing towards Lugano across the way, explained, My friend is a renowned doctor in Trier. The term renowned here applied to a wanted poster. Without awaiting the middle-aged man's reply, Lumion casually inquired, What's your name? Just call me Pierre, the middle-aged man replied, hunched over as he observed Lumion in the snug private room on the steam locomotive. Do you folks fancy that name around here too? Lumion grinned and asked, Do you think you'll get sick too? Pierre's eyelids twitched, his expression momentarily freezing. Instinctively, he replied, No, just a bit concerned. Well then, get some rest, drink more water, and perhaps seek out the clergyman at the cathedral for repentance, Lumion advised without pressing further. Pierre moved towards the front of the locomotive in silence, hoping to drum up more business. However, his steps seemed burdened, as if his feet were encased in lead, each stride a struggle. Woof, woof, woof. The barking resumed near the platform. Pierre's face contorted, overwhelmed with worry and fear. Suddenly, he turned around, shaking off the waiter and rushing to the window of the small private room where Lumion and the others were situated. Save me, doctor, save me, he pleaded, pressing his hands against the glass with a desperate expression. Lumion seized the moment, stating, Unless you disclose the cause of the illness, my friend won't be able to treat you. The commotion reached the passengers in the adjacent private rooms, but in their slumber, they were indifferent to the unfolding drama. Pierre swallowed hard, stealing a glance at the equally terrified bar waiter. Yes. Before he could complete his sentence, a figure materialized on the platform's wall. The figure stood firmly, legs apart, body contorted, but its head tilted upward, fixated on some distant point. It was a man, clad in tweed garments, conspicuously marked by tears and frays. His facial muscles contorted dramatically, and his eyes were rolled back, leaving only a white patch visible. Saliva dribbled from his open mouth as he attempted to speak. Woof, woof, woofs. The barking harmonized with the other canine sounds in Dartle, forming a disconcerting chorus. It's derangement, Pierre finally exclaimed. Derangement? Lumion shifted his attention from the man barking on the wall to Lugano. Lugano observed the abnormality for a moment before slowly shaking his head at Lumion. His message was clear. This wasn't your typical case of rabies. Pierre, mistakenly thinking Lumion was addressing him, was on the brink of emotional collapse. Yes, derangement. I don't know when it started. People in our town began turning into barking lunatics. Initially, it was just one, but then 2, 3, 10, many acquaintances of mine got infected, completely losing their minds. They only bark like dogs and are most active during the night. Did they contract it from being bitten by these lunatics? Lugano inquired with a furrowed brow. No, the ones I know weren't bitten, but they still went mad. I feel like I'm soon next, Pierre exclaimed in despair. You didn't seek help from the government? Lumion was puzzled, thinking that official Beyonders wouldn't allow such a situation to escalate. We heard about a village having a similar situation as derangement. They reported it to the government, and then the whole village vanished. We didn't dare approach either the government or the church, Pierre explained frantically, with the bar waiter by his side equally terrified. Lumion's eyes narrowed. Where are the people from the town's health department, police station, and the cathedral's padre? They were the first to succumb to madness. Pierre, caught up in distress, didn't consider Lumion's intentions in asking. The initial casualties were the padre, police, and health officials. Lumion raised an eyebrow and remarked, "So why haven't you tried escaping from Dartle?" Escape, Pierre and the bar waiter were startled, staring blankly at Lumion. Beneath the crimson moonlight, the whites of their eyes took on a bloodshot hue.